Welcome back to the newsroom. Katerina VITTOZZI is with us now. Good morning, Katerina.
Good morning.
You've been thumbing through all of the French newspapers for us. A wide variety of themes for editors to choose from today, but we ladies are making it onto several front pages, aren't we?
We certainly are. La Croix picks up on this International Women's Day, going with a headline. This is at the French Religious Daily, let me remind you, that Europe, there's a real lack of women in key decision-making roles, particularly in European Parliament. The piece shows this lovely photograph of the Italian MEP Lizia Ronzulli, who made headlines with a sort of similar photo back in 2010 when she was pictured with her daughter Vittoria, then just a babe in arms. She was taken to European parliamentary meetings.
Now she's making decisions.
And now she's even voting 2 years on. She's still in Parliament with her mum. But the paper points out that this is sort of, you can see they're surrounded just by men, and in fact that there's still kind of a disparity between the numbers of females and males within European Parliament. It's currently 35% of seats are taken up by women. This is better than it was sort of 30 years ago when it was just under 17%. But still, if you look at the women in the top roles, that sort of percentage falls down even further. And I'm particularly happy that the Religious Daily then took this this scenario and looked at a very topical situation, what's happening in Rome, voting in the new Pope.
No women involved there.
Absolutely no women involved there. And they say that this is actually an anomaly in the modern world, and this is something that they really feel like the new Pope, obviously he's still going to be a man, that's not going to change anytime soon, but they really feel that the sort of women's role in both the Catholic Church and in all faiths, in fact, is something the new Pope should be looking forward and addressing.
And that was from the Catholic Daily.
That was from the Catholic Daily.
So quite interesting that they're approaching that subject.
Absolutely. In fact, they call it an anomaly. It's quite strong language that they're using. But also International Women's Day making the front page of Aujourd'hui en France. There they've got an interview with the French Minister for Women's Rights, who says the government's going to do more to battle wage inequality in France. They say it is still an issue. The government has sort of led the way. They've got a 50-50 cabinet in terms of who's a male and who's female. But in terms of wage disparity, it's still an issue they need to tackle. And they say that they'll be bringing in fines for companies who don't move fast enough to bring in equal pay for female and male colleagues who are essentially doing the same role. And the final piece on this in the Metro, they've looked at who are the most influential women online in 2013.
Oh.
The winner, Marine Le Pen, there, sporting an electronic cigarette.
A divisive character.
A divisive character, but apparently this is how this is counted. They don't actually have to be physically active online themselves, but it's how many times their names are mentioned in online articles, blog posts, social media sites. And Marine Le Pen has more mentions than anyone else.
There we go. Well, we're going to stick with the political figures then, looking at Le Figaro, which has some harsh words for the UMP party, a bit of a kick up the bottom.
Absolutely. This is ahead of next year's local elections, 2014. Time does move quickly in politics. They're saying that the UMP party isn't taking advantage of the difficulties that the left are facing. They say the UMP need to sort of manipulate the fact that unemployment's still very high, recession, it's proving difficult to kickstart the economy, and they say that popularity polls that they've taken show that more people would still vote for the socialists. So they say the UMP really need to galvanise. They say that actually, are they taking a holiday? What are they doing? They really need to kickstart this.
Okay, and we're going to move on to, finally, Libération, leading with a subject that's not that often talked about in France.
No, in fact, they call this a bit of a taboo subject. In the true spirit of equality, they say sex for all, looking at sort of encouraging more talk about sexual lives of people with disabilities. They're using a photo from a new film called The Sessions, which is regards to a man who's paralysed from the neck down going to see a sex therapist. And they call this a real grey area in their editorial. They say that everyone has a right to what they call sexual citizenship. This is a taboo about talking about it in France. This is something that must change.
Thanks very much. Sex and Politics with Katerina VITTOZZI.
All in the French Press Review.
And the French Press Review here on France 24. We're going to take a short break. Do stay tuned. More news and headlines coming up.